Day 2 slight risk here of severe weather for Illinois, parts of Missouri, Indiana, parts here of Ohio, and also Michigan. Here getting also extreme southeast Wisconsin here for a 5% tornado probability, a 15% wind and hail probability with the possibility here of gorilla hail, more than up to or more than 2 inches in diameter of hail. Hello everybody, Genius here. Welcome back to another video here once again with the other forecast here. I'm sorry for a little bit of more rushed opening for the videos. I normally don't do that, but I decided to do a more rushed one because we have a lot of things to talk about today. Severe weather here, not only today but also next week here. Models have been really interested today and next week. I'm going to give a little bit more focus for tomorrow because tomorrow is going to be closer, of course, but yeah, I'm going to do a later video for tomorrow. Probably tomorrow I'm going to do a video talking about next week severe weather event, possibly of course. I have to use weak words, of course. I limit myself to using weaker words this far out. But yeah, it looks really interesting. SPC already mentioning the possibility here of a probability is being mentioned here. Probability being added for the next day 4 to day 8 severe outlook. Let's go to the models. Stop talking about next week. This is the 12Z HRRR model composite reflectivity. Y'all know the chart I showed to y'all yesterday here with the other models. This time I really have the extra line. I'm not joking on y'all like I did unfortunately yesterday. It wasn't my plan, but I really did. Sorry y'all. But yeah, this is the 28th. Actually this is the 27th, 6 p.m. around that time here, and we see nothing like really interesting. Where are the storms? And I'm going to show you the storms. So let's go here. This is around 7 p.m. We are ready to start to see a double-edged sword developing, and I'm going to talk about it later. We already see elevated storms here, which will be causing more than likely gorilla hail here. Hail up to or bigger than 2 inches in diameter here, possibly maybe 2.5, 3 inches here hail. Shall not be completely excluded, right? Also hail here on the exit on eastern Ohio. But the big talk that has been on the latest runs here on the models here are the storms in Indiana, right? Because they look to have the biggest tornado threat. Let me show you the next frame here by already 8 p.m. And look at that, we have here a big hole, a big margin here of semi-discrete supercells here, or maybe discrete supercells here in Indiana here, hailers in both Illinois and Missouri, and big hailers here on both Indiana and also Michigan, right? Ohio getting a little bit on the clear. Right now, they're going to get hailers later. Let me show you a sounding here which is really interesting by the HRRR. The soundings have been popping up on the internet all along. Let me show you one of them. This is the first sounding that I want to show you here from a storm that the HRRR showed in Indiana here. Quite curved photographed, possible hazard type Thor, right? Strong STP, although I'm not a base fan of the STP. 0.2 is already pretty okay here. Cape is pretty fine, around 1,000 joules per kilogram. The HRRR shows around 1,600, 1,700, maybe a little bit more, developing around a blob here of dew point that I'm showing to you later. Have changing winds as we go through the atmosphere, which is needed for that development here of wind shear. Also here EHI and SRH, which is the energy helicity index, and also the storm relative helicity, pretty strong as well. 2.8 here on the EHI and 400 SRH is pretty strong. Free Cape is also fine here. Lapse rates are fine. We have a classic tornado sounding here. If you go on a website like this and you try to find a Tor, you're going to find something like this. It's pretty normal. What is not as common is a PDS Tor possible at the time sounding here on February. Yes, that's not that common. I know I saw this earlier on events earlier this month. Carved photograph one again, a little bit more developed. PDS Tor sounding as I showed to you before. STP a little bit stronger, around 3.1. We have here quite a little bit here, a little bit of a inversion here. Could end up being really interesting. We have Cape here around 1,000 joules per kilogram, really similar to the last one that I showed to you. A little bit more to the west, we're going to have that 16 and 1500, 1700 joules per kilogram thing that I talked about earlier here. Lapse rates pretty similar as well. 3 Cape a little bit stronger. EHI and SRH are stronger. We have here stronger shear as well. So we have a strong tornado sound in here on the HRRR, the top Z HRRR. Now I'm going to talk about the biggest talking point on Twitter recently. Should it be upgraded to a 10%? My opinion is yes and no. I totally get why the SPC has chosen to continue with the 5%, but I think that a 10% is already okay. We have the models have shown consistent signal here of the possibility of a strong tornado or two happening, maybe an intense tornado or two happening, depending on mergers, right? I mean, mergers can do anything. Just remember on the 8th, right? And the F2 popped out of nowhere here with a merger. So yeah, I can understand why the SPC has continued with the 5%. Maybe they don't think they have enough confidence here to put out a 10 hatched tornado probability, but I think that there should be already a 10 hatched. There could be potential for severe weather. Significant severe weather shown by hail. I expect that by around the 1630Z outlook, I would expect to be either for hail or for tornadoes enhanced risk here by tomorrow. When I do the video, I'll be talking about and there's enhanced risk of severe weather. Maybe. I hope not, of course. I hope that the event posts out. But yeah, this is the first model only. I'm going to show to you other model runs and possible fail modes of this event. Let's go to the next model. Let's go to the RFS. This is the RFS here, the RRFSA by the NOAA, by the SPC. 12Z, once again, just like the HRRR one that I showed to you. And quite similar to the HRRR model run that I showed to you. Very little development here by 0Z here, outside of a few pop-up showers here on by 6 p.m. But by 7 p.m. we already start to see updrafts here. And what the RFS shows is pretty much a one-cell juggle, a complete disaster. It shows a dominant cell developing. Let me show you the next frame. Of course, there's a smaller cells here developing, but it shows a one big supercell developing here with updraft, surf everything, with hail, with possible tornado. Unfortunately, I don't have the townies here. I'm poor, but yeah, definitely showing a severe weather event here with a dominant supercell doing the entire work for the others, carrying the group here on the school project here. Next frame by 9 p.m. By 9 p.m. The RFS shows the same storm here, the same storm is exactly the same supercell, but it already shows developing of other storms of other supercells here already by Michigan and northern Indiana, also Ohio, and also developing here on Wisconsin here, which has seen some unusually strong severe weather for the months here. It's not a state that sees common severe weather normally already, and it also just had its first significant tornado on February in history this year. It's going to have probably more tornadoes. Is a possibility, okay? The severe weather threat is not as big on this one, but it continues to show. The RFS is showing the supercell here. I don't expect that. Expect probably many supercells. Next, go to the next frame by 10 p.m. Already 2 supercells developing here. 2 major supercells on western of Ohio. Other supercells, other pop-up supercells have developed here, and one big blob here of supercells and all that developing. Next, go to the next one, which is going to be the NAM. The NAM starts to show some of the fail modes of this event. This is NAM 3 km Conus here, the really close range NAM, and little development by 0Z by 6 p.m. But 7 p.m. where's the storms? There's one storm right here. where's the rest? Basically, the main fail point of this event in tornado type fashion is late development of the storms. If the storms end up developing by 6 p.m., 5 p.m., we expect, at least I expect, a more higher end severe weather event, not higher end like tornado outbreak or something like that, but expect a possible higher than expected, higher than a 5%, higher than a 10%, higher than 10%, but a 10% hatched type of tornado event with strong tornadoes, possibly an intense tornado, not completely being rolled out on the interactions of the storms. As storms will have able time to mature, to develop, to completely kill the cap, and boom, intense, possibly surface-based storms. However, if we don't see that, we could be in for a hailer, or possibly maybe complete bust. I don't like using the term bust, okay, but yeah, we see on the 7 p.m. now here, we already see a different development here than we saw on the HRRR. We already see later development, and also on the RFS. We already see later development of the supercells. Also, fewer. We had let me go to the 8 p.m. and then we start to see those storms developing here. Those supercells probably going to produce. You know that the T word. I cannot say it. No, I'm joking. The tornadoes also possible here, developing by Indiana. Possibly going to bring tornadoes. Possibly going to bring hail, depending on elevated or not. On this run here of the NAM, I expect to see more of a hail as the storms develop later. They're not going to have ample time, and they're going to be kept as elevated. Still, if a storm is able to become surface-based, they can produce a tornado, a strong tornado, completely not being completely ruled out. However, I don't expect to see many tornadoes on the NAM solution here. Next frame here already complete mess. Storms have weakened. Storms have started to develop northern here. And yeah, it's kind of a complete mess. The NAM shows a complete destruction of the event, and probably nothing because it doesn't show the same support in moisture. Let me show it to you. This is the HRRR, the same time, 8 p.m. and we see a very brief warm sector here on Indiana and parts of also Illinois of 60 dew points here, which is going to help the development of moisture, right? The moisture is going to be better developed, better organized, developing more instability, right? We show here around 17,800 joules per kilogram. Okay, let me show it to you. Just like I told you, 17, maybe 200 actually joules per kilogram of Cape here on the shore here on the coast here at 200 joules per kilogram. But the main show here is around 1600, 1700 joules per kilogram of Cape due to that warm sector. The NAM doesn't show the same setup, although it continues to show okay 2 week dew points 58, 57. It's not enough to generate enough stability, right? My rule of thumb is higher than it's the bare minimum for this winter times events. We are still on winter, believe it or not. Is around like 50, 60 dew points plus. Maybe on cold cores 50 is fine, but yeah, the NAM doesn't show quite the same moisture developing here, and actually it never develops. Being completely honest, it just never develops here. Let me show the instability for you, and yeah, there is nowhere the same instability. You get like 200 joules per kilogram of Cape, which is just not enough to support robust supercell development of such supercells. So yeah, we just don't have the same risk of severe weather, if any severe weather risk here, based on this solution of NAM 3 kilometer conus. That's why I think that if the SPC is going to upgrade it tomorrow wind enhanced, they're going to wait they're going to wait for the service data. Okay. Let's go to the next week, right? Let's go to where the models cry and we cry as well as we see the system completely die. Come on. So this is the 500 millibar height map of winds. The same stuff that I show you every single video when we talk about long ranging and medium ranging. I'm predicting severe weather events forecasting, and we already start to see what's coming, right? We have flashbacks, y'all, from last week. I remember talking about the trough and all that. So yeah, we have another trough possibly digging through the US. Now, we don't have anything to trust on this solution. I'm going to make this very clear so that I don't need to make any corrections and I don't leave anyone in fear. Even though I think that, yeah, we have more the models are more trustworthy than the last week. Right now, I'm not going to trust them this far out, especially with what they did last week. Let me show you to you a later shown here of the trough. Would you look at that? Pretty beautiful, honestly, trough here, right next to the region here around Oklahoma, Kansas here, developing here. Quite a little bit of a neutral trough here to maybe a little bit of a negative field, but more on the neutral side here of the troughs here, right? So really strong trough developing here, and moisture looks to be ample here, even if not as strong, looks to be there. Look at that moisture, 60s dew points here getting into Oklahoma, Kansas as well. Let me get to a later on. So yeah, I have once again moisture advection from the Gulf of Mexico here already by March, so we are technically in spring. So already expect major. No, I'm joking, of course. If I were to give you fear, would say that we have quite a dry line here. Let me tell you, and yeah, we have quite an event being shown right now. I'm not going to show you soundings to give you fear. I just want to say, hey, look at this. This could be interesting. Not to have any fear about it. Just look out. This could be interesting. This could be a severe weather event. Pretty good signal on the GFS. The Euro model shows a pretty similar signal. Let me show it to you. Well, the Euro model, how can I say it? It wants to completely destroy Oklahoma, and I'm laughing about this because this is more than likely not going to happen. Okay, and we got. This is probably the most ridiculous model run I've ever seen. But yeah, it shows a pretty negative to the trough, differently from the from the GFS. I believe more in the GFS solution, right? Even though the Euro model has been more consistent with its solution, I believe more on the GFS. The moisture advection here on the UCMWF model is not as strong, yeah, but it definitely gets to Oklahoma and also getting to Kansas here. Now, yeah, we have. You can see that once again, the same dry line that it was shown. Pretty great dry line. Moisture getting into Oklahoma, maybe Kansas. So yeah, we do have a pretty interesting signal this far out. Don't pull the trigger. Don't get like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have a tornado in my home. No need for that. No need to fear. I'm open to questions here, just to make this very clear. So yeah, severe weather tomorrow. Possibility of severe weather event, maybe a tornado event. Next week we know nothing. Just want to make that very clear. We know pretty much shit. Okay, this will be very clear. I'm going to use this wording. We know nothing about next week's. So yeah, stay safe, y'all. That's going to probably be hit or not by a severe weather event next week. And for those of you that may be with fear about next week, be calm. Wait. That's the best thing I'm going to say. We need to wait. We cannot say anything conclusive this time. Peace, y'all. Have a great day. Stay safe, y'all.